For decades, the United States government denied any involvement in secret programs to study UFOs. In the 1950s till 1969, they did have public programs such as Project Sign, Project Grusch, and Project Blue Book. But these were PR campaigns to discredit witnesses and deliver findings that purported to show there was nothing to the phenomenon. UFOs were simply weather balloons, mirages, and atmospheric phenomena. Throughout the 1970s till the 2000s, the government continued to state that they had no interest in the subject and had no programs to study them, despite multiple military and civilian pilot sightings. Studying UFOs was a waste of taxpayer dollars and nothing to be alarmed about. Then, in December of 2017, it was revealed that they did indeed have a secret program. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, was an unclassified but unpublicized secret investigation effort funded by the United States government to study unidentified flying objects. The program began in 2007 with funding of $22 million over 5 years until the available appropriations were ended in 2012. The program began in the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency in the Pentagon. Since then, new and astonishing revelations have come forward. The secret was out, and civilians, journalists, Congress, and military personnel have looked deeply into the government's attempt to hide their involvement in the phenomenon, much to the government's dismay. Questions are being asked openly now, and the public is demanding truthful answers. Those answers may be coming soon, and those answers could be very frightening. Around 2016, Hillary Clinton appeared on a late-night talk show and blurted out a new term for UFOs that most had never heard before. She mentioned UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. It would be revealed later that UAP was the government's designation for UFOs, a way to hide their involvement in the subject. By changing the name of the topic, they could hide information in plain sight. After all, they were not talking about UFOs, but rather UAPs. We do not know when this change happened, but it stymied Public Freedom of Information Act requests for government UFO documents. The government would simply reply they have no documents on UFOs, and that was true. They didn't, because they had changed the name of the phenomenon to UAP. The ATIP program had also changed the attitude towards the subject by the government. With its creation, the government was now taking a more aggressive approach. ATIP was a threat identification program. Obviously, they considered these craft to be threatening. Why? In the years to follow, it was revealed there was yet another secret program, the UAP Task Force. Also, a scientific program called AARO was formed in 2022. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. This was a panel of scientists whose job was to study documents, videos, military reports, and any material given to it that was recorded by military personnel. The AARO was, in part, much like Project Blue Book, a PR system to put a public face on the phenomenon and give scientific resolutions for most sightings. As with any such program, there were a multitude of videos and reports they simply could not explain. The Task Force is the other program. On August 4, 2020, Deputy Secretary of Defense David L. Norquist approved the establishment of an Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. The Department of the Navy, under the cognizance of the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, leads the UAPTF. The Department of Defense established the UAPTF to improve its understanding of and gain insight into the nature and origins of UAPs. The mission of the task force is to detect, analyze, catalog UAPs that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security. These new programs appear to show the seriousness the government is now placing on the mystery of UFOs. Threat identification, task force. These new terms are far more aggressive compared to the benign terms like project or blue book. From January 28th to February 4th of 2023, a high-altitude balloon originating from China flew across North American airspace, including Alaska, Western Canada, and the United States. On February 4th, the U.S. Air Force shot down the balloon over U.S. territorial waters off the coast of South Carolina. Debris from the wreckage was recovered and sent to the FBI laboratory in Virginia for analysis. Following a preliminary analysis of the debris in June, U.S. officials stated that the balloon carried intelligence-gathering equipment, but did not appear to have sent information back to China. This balloon scare put the Pentagon on high alert, with several intelligence agencies watching the balloon mystery as information came out. Eventually, they did shoot it down, but by that time, the public was well aware of its existence. Trying to put the public at ease, the Pentagon issued press releases and at one point confirmed that 4 other objects have been shot down. When this news was released, many wanted to know what the other objects were. They had been very specific to say it was objects and never referred to them as balloons. To this day, we have no idea what they shot down. The balloon scandal allowed us, the public, to see in real time how the Pentagon responds to such incursions into our airspace. Multiple sorties of planes were sent to circle and photograph the balloon. It was tracked electronically and monitored for any transmissions it may make. Though they knew early on this was just a balloon, the UAP task force was in full action mode, tracking and tracing it. Since then, ATIP's reveal of several videos of UFOs have surfaced as well. In 2004, naval ships engaged in training exercises shot the videos. Among the information that has been released by the program are several short videos of military jets encountering something they couldn't identify. The release of those videos were part of a campaign by Luis Elizondo, then working for To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, who said that he wanted to shed light on the program. The Navy confirmed the authenticity of the videos, stating only that they depict what they consider to be unidentified aerial phenomena. Susan Gao, a Pentagon spokeswoman, confirmed that the 3 videos were made by naval aviators and that they are part of a larger issue of an increased number of training range incursions by unidentified aerial phenomena in recent years. One of the videos appears to show a UAP transitioning from the air to within the sea, a capability we humans do not have. To date, no craft has been designed or invented that can fly, transition to operate within the ocean, and emerge, then fly away. This alone is a capability our military would love to have, so the government's interest in UAPs is paramount. More videos have leaked since then, including a triangle-type UAP and something that was called a jellyfish because it had tentacle-type appendages hanging under it. It too was said to have the ability to transition into the ocean, then rise 17 minutes later and fly away. Multiple civilian videos of saucer-shaped and orb shapes have been photographed from aircraft and land. These appear to depict something flying in our airspace that is not conventional. Orbs is yet another style of UAP that is becoming more popular and seen often. In the past, many saucer-shaped craft have been reported as well as triangle shapes. However, these orb-shaped craft are becoming more common, replacing the typical saucer style. On April 19, 2023, the Pentagon released another video featuring MQ-9 drone footage from the Middle East depicting an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Sean M. Kirkpatrick, director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, briefed a Senate Armed Services Subcommittee, saying that it resembled a small metallic orb. However, Kirkpatrick said they were unable to fully identify anything from this video. He told ABC News that no explanation could be made of the object from the video due to a lack of data. The object appears to fly over an area with no visible propulsion systems, no wings, no propellers or jet engines, and no lift or flight capabilities that we are aware of. From the video, one cannot determine the object's size, but it is oval, appears to move rapidly, and defies our understanding of aeronautics. Then in 2023, Air Force officer David Grusch dropped a proverbial UAP bomb on the public. Before we get to his claims, let's look at David Grusch closer. David Charles Grusch is a decorated Afghanistan combat veteran and a former USAF intelligence officer who worked in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the NGA, and the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO. From 2019 to 2021, he was the representative of the NRO to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. From late 2021 to July 2022, he was the co-lead for UAP analysis at the NGA and its representative to the task force. He assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023, which includes provisions for reporting of UFOs, including whistleblower protections and exemptions to non-disclosure orders and agreements. Congressional interest in UFO sightings immediately prior to Grusch's public claims surrounded questions about the 4 objects that the Air Force shot down in February of 2023. Grusch was in the right place and the right time to learn about secret UFO UAP matters and felt the public should know about the government's activities on the matter. So, he went public. In 2023, he was interviewed by journalists and testified in a U.S. House of Representatives hearing. Grusch claimed that the U.S. federal government maintains a secretive UFO or UAP recovery and reverse engineering program, and that it is in possession of non-human spacecraft along with their dead pilots. Back in 2022, Grusch had filed a whistleblower complaint with the U.S. Office of the Intelligence Community Inspector General, the ICIG, to support his plan to share classified information with the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He also filed a complaint alleging retaliation by his superiors over a similar complaint he made in 2021. He claims to have viewed documents reporting that Mussolini's government recovered a non-human spacecraft in 1933, which the Vatican and the Five Eyes assisted the U.S. in procuring in 1944 or 1945. Grusch claims that American citizens have been harmed and killed as a part of government efforts to cover up that information. In response, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, and the U.S. Department of Defense, the DoD, stated that no evidence of extraterrestrial life had been discovered and that there was no verifiable information about the U.S. government or private aerospace companies possessing and reverse engineering any extraterrestrial materials. In a testimony given to the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability in July 2023, Grusch repeated several of his claims under oath. Testimonies were also delivered by Ryan Graves, a retired fighter pilot, and David Fravor, a retired U.S. Navy commander, on their experiences related to UFOs. Grusch testified that he could not elaborate further in public, but offered to provide details to representatives in a sensitive, compartmentalized information facility, or a SCIF. Grusch claims that the U.S. federal government maintains a highly secretive UFO retrieval program and possesses multiple spacecraft of non-human origin, as well as corpses of deceased pilots. He also claims there is substantive evidence that white-collar crime took place to conceal UFO programs, and that he had interviewed officials who said that people had been killed to conceal the programs. He stated that he tried to get Sean M. Kirkpatrick, the director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to help him share his claims with Congress. I expressed some concerns to Dr. Kirkpatrick about a year ago and told him what I was starting to uncover, and he didn't follow up with me, said Grusch. Grusch elaborated on his claims in a subsequent interview with the French newspaper Le Parisien on June 7th. He said that UFOs could be coming from extra dimensions, that he had spoken with intelligence officials whom the U.S. military had briefed on football field-sized craft that the U.S. government transferred some crashed UFOs to a defense contractor, and that there was malevolent activity by UFOs. During a July 26, 2023 congressional hearing, Grusch said that he was informed in the course of his official duties of a multi-decade UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program to which he was denied access, and that he believed that the U.S. government was in possession of UAPs based on his interviews with 40 witnesses over 4 years. He claimed in response to congressional questions that the U.S. has retrieved non-human biological matter from the pilots of the craft, and that this was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the UAP program that he talked to, that are currently still on the program. When Representative Tim Burchett asked him if he had personal knowledge of people who've been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal the government's possession of extraterrestrial technology, Grusch said yes, but that he was not able to provide details except within a SCIF. Is this the revelation we have been waiting for? The proof that ETs are visiting Earth? Or yet another attempt to hide the truth? Grusch admitted he had never seen debris or alien bodies. Instead, he referenced to others who had. He was reporting what he was told, though he would be in the right place and the right time to find out. It comes down to whether we believe him or not. What would it take? Do we require a president or other high-ranking official to disclose the truth to us? Will they have to drag out an alien corpse or materials that civilians can see and touch, or perhaps a living alien? Over the past few decades, indeed since the 1950s, individuals have come forward with the same story. We have aliens, dead or alive, in our custody. We have teams that respond when a craft of unknown origin crashes or is shot down. The accumulation of testimonies cannot be ignored. Are they simply telling the same story for publicity or fame? Or is the truth staring us right in the face? We often hear the term preponderance of evidence. This is when information continues to come forth that points to a specific direction. It doesn't make it true, but it is suggestive of one final conclusion. If multiple military officers from different fields and departments over time continue to take the chance of speaking out, in some cases facing reprisal or even death, then we must look closely at what they are saying. We cannot ignore the risk they are taking. Grusch is just one in a long line of military personnel who have taken that risk and tried to reveal to us the truth of UFO, UAP, alien existence. In some cases, whistleblowers may not be military, rather civilian contractors that saw or heard something, or diligent researchers who uncovered information. Scientists, engineers, and others have come forward after being exposed to the truth. Former military officers, now retired, have disclosed truths they knew while in the military. This is a long-running theme that has accumulated into a wealth of unconfirmed but plausible data that says loudly, we are not alone. Whenever new information comes forward via a whistleblower or sighting, it's important to watch carefully for the blowback, the resistance to that information. Who is trying to discredit it? Do they have motivations to deny it? For example, in the 1970s and 80s, the government continually denied we had any stealth aircraft, even though it was being written about in Popular Mechanics and other trade magazines. Then, when George Bush Sr. ordered our military into the Middle East to free Kuwait, there it was. The media saw and reported on these odd-looking, diamond-shaped craft flying sorties over the area. Not only did we have aircraft invisible to radar, we had a fleet of them. We had long-range radar invisible bombers and fighter craft no one had ever seen before. This was a revelation through necessity. We needed to engage that aircraft to win the conflict, so the government played their hidden trump card and used this new technology to ensure we won the conflict in the Middle East. The secret was out, but it served a purpose for our military. We are superior. We have something you don't have. When a government hides a new technology, they will not reveal it until it is necessary, and when they do, they need to make a bold statement. They need to use it to prove they are the superior ones. If we do get to see that the United States does have advanced alien technology, you likely will not see it until a major conflict or war occurs. Then they will reveal their superiority. They will hold it up to our enemies as a badge of honor and proof of our superior technology, and proclaim that resistance is futile. We will surely use it to defeat any nation that stands against us. This is how all nations in wars and conflicts have used new technology throughout history. It's always the same game. You play the cards you have, and you play to win. More is better. Back engineering is taking a new technology you've discovered, taking it apart, and figuring out how it works, then duplicating your own version of it. In some cases, claiming you invented it yourself. You see this in industry all the time. Some new widget comes out, and in time, several versions are for sale. The military has a long history of duplicating foreign technology and repurposing it as their own technology. In many cases, it's our American technology being stolen by foreign nations. Almost all of our weapons has been duplicated, including aircraft and spacecraft. In the 1980s, Russia stole our space shuttle designs and created their own version. It was called Buransk. The name in English means snowstorm, and they did test fly it. Though they abandoned their own shuttle program when the cost grew too much for their economy. Back engineering is the term used when we recover a downed UAP UFO and seek to understand how it works so we can duplicate the technology. We do not know how long our government has been doing this, but rumors of crash retrieval programs date back to the 1970s when whistleblowers began to leak information about such teams. If we do have UAPs and have back engineered them, then we will likely begin to see them appear on the battlefield, assuming we have been able to duplicate the technology. Some say the recent revelations on UAPs and UFOs by the government is designed to get us used to the idea we have this technology, so when it appears, we're not easily shocked. Others believe the technology is just too advanced, and even though we have several UAPs in custody, we cannot fathom how they work, which is why, so far, we haven't seen them in the battlefield. Whichever is the truth, there does appear to be a task force initiative to recover downed UAP craft and back engineer them. The government admitted the 4 other objects after the Chinese balloon incident were recovered by such a team. In his role within the U.S. defense establishment, 36-year-old David Grusch said he was trusted with some of the government's most intimate secrets. In his time at the UAP task force, Grusch said the group was refused access to a crash retrieval program. These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed, he said. According to Grusch, that includes spacecraft from quite a number of other species. Grusch said, "I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started to confide in me, approach me. I have plenty of senior, former intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my entire career, that confided in me that they were part of a program." Grusch said these officials named the program, which he had never heard of before. They told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof that there was in fact a program that the UAP task force was not read into, Grusch continued. There is a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral. We're definitely not alone, Grusch confirmed. The data points, quite empirically, say that we're not alone. Grusch also told News Nation it isn't just spacecraft that have been recovered. Grusch went on to say, well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true. Remember, we are not just taking the words of a single whistleblower. For decades, such revelations have been leaked or individuals have come forward to say the same thing. Retired military officials, civilian contractors, and more have talked about crash and retrieval programs. Grusch is just the most senior of officials to come out with this information. Congress has been briefed, and behind closed doors, we have no idea what they were told. If we have crash retrieval programs, then surely other nations have duplicated our efforts. They too would have such programs. Keep in mind that UAPs, if they crash, are not restricted to just American territory. They likely have also crashed in foreign nations' territory worldwide. So it is a safe bet China, Russia, and other nations also are operating task forces whose job it is to capture and analyze UAPs and their occupants. They may already be far ahead of us in discovering and replicating advanced alien technology. Remember, our first spacecraft and rockets were not invented by Americans. The Germans had V-2 rockets in World War II. They used them, and through Operation Paperclip, we brought many of them to America to build our space program. The Russians were the first to put a satellite in orbit, not us. They were the first to put a man in space as well. The Chinese at present has an advanced moon mission program and will likely beat us back to the moon. So thinking only we can back engineer non-terrestrial craft is foolhardy. Imagine if China or Russia were able to crack the technology to create anti-gravity or some other flight tech from extraterrestrial craft first. They could and would dominate the world. So this is not only a technological issue, it's an issue of liberty and democracy. Of course, if we crack the tech first, then we may use it to impose our own ideology on the world. Whoever gets there first wins. Grusch and others have declared that not only do we have technology in the form of UAP materials, but we also have non-human biologics. The pilots of these craft may be dead or alive. We may be storing them for biological study, or even have living aliens locked away somewhere. We do not know this for sure, but if all the testimony from various witnesses in the past to present can be believed, we are not alone right here on planet Earth. Holding aliens prisoner here on Earth would likely not gain us any points with their brethren elsewhere in the galaxy. They could consider this a hostile act and attempt to recover their comrades. Or, as some have suggested, the gray aliens are simply biological robots. They may not care if we have a few of their spawn, because we cannot duplicate them and they know little or nothing about those who created them. They only know the tasks they were created to fulfill. So the alien races out there may not care at all. They may be confident we don't have the intelligence to duplicate their technology or the ability to extract any information from their biologic robots. To them, it may be safe to just leave it alone. Then again, there is the possibility they do want us to try to replicate their tech. After all, this would help them to determine our intelligence level. Some crashes could have been intentional, to gauge how far we have come and to see if we can indeed understand it. It may be a simple but effective attempt to spoon-feed us some technology to determine if we are even capable of duplicating it. If we can, then we may be their contemporaries, or at least a species they may need to keep a closer eye on in the event we become too aggressive for their tastes. Having and understanding the biological intricacies of their species or creations would give us a great advantage in understanding them. We would know what nutrients keep them alive, what environment they are comfortable in, and we could learn about any pathogens they are or are not susceptible to. We could even learn about their thinking process, morals and ethics they believe, and how they view us. In any case, any nation that gets access to the material will increase their knowledge of another species and might use that knowledge for nefarious means. However, having access to aliens and their technology could bring on a new understanding of them and our place in the cosmos. It may be enlightening to have conversations with an ET. It could enhance our understanding and consciousness, whereby we grow to the point that we may have full disclosure and meet aliens not as a few, but as the entire human race. It could open up a whole new world for us. So why is the government so reluctant to reveal what they have and what they know? Simply put, it's fear. They fear our enemies will discover the secrets of the UAP and somehow outpace us technologically. And they fear we, as the population, can't handle the truth. If they have discovered some nefarious plan of the aliens, then they may feel they are protecting us. Or if they have agreements with the aliens not to disclose their existence to the population, they may fear reprisals from the aliens themselves. Whenever a government does anything, it is always in their best interest. We the people rarely get to know what goes on behind closed doors of any government officials. The UAP situation is no different. They keep it a secret for their own purposes. In the 1930s, the fictional broadcast of War of the Worlds caused panic in America, and perhaps the truth about aliens today would do the same. It all boils down to fear. Elected officials also fear reprisals. If they admit they have been keeping these secrets from the people, those people may rise up and vote them out of office. If they reveal they have lied to you, then their jobs are at stake. The existence of life on other worlds coming here would be the biggest cosmic story of all time, and they want to come out looking like heroes somehow. However, even with all the government secrets, there is no way they can silence the people when they have their own sightings. The UFO phenomenon has been a decades-long event. Hundreds of thousands have their own personal sightings, and they do not need a government to reveal the truth to them. They know what they saw, and these sightings are growing. It used to be rare when someone was able to take a picture of a UAP. However, that has changed. Almost everyone carries a cell phone these days, and high-resolution cameras within these devices are just a click away. Home security door cameras catch anomalous events often, and TV cameras watching the weather catch them as well. We now live in a time where almost everyone is near an active camera at all times, always looking, always recording. Aside from several fake UFO videos that appear on social media, there are also many that are recorded by individuals who happen to catch something and are reporting it. An enormous collection of actual videos is growing, and more people are getting them on camera. People can no longer say UFOs and UAPs don't exist or are figments of our imagination. The truth, they are here, is coming out little by little every day. With all this UFO activity, some may say we don't need a government revelation to know they are here. Many have simply accepted it, and there is a growing movement of grassroots UAP clubs, organizations, and meetings happening globally. Each year, there are conferences and local groups attesting to alien encounters. They want to believe, and they do. With the proliferation of blogs, podcasts, and other alternate media, there are now thousands of programs on the subject of UAPs. People using the internet to inform, educate, and in some cases, expound spiritual truths they believe come from the superior aliens themselves. In any case, the internet is saturated with UAP information, and when something happens that is reported by mainstream media, it gets shared across a plethora of social media sites, often with commentary that may or may not be truthful. As a civilian, you have to decide what is truth and what is fabrication. Weeding through this information and misinformation can be like trying to walk through a landmine. You never know when some new revelation is just someone trying to grab attention, or is fact and truthful. Doing your own research is the only way to navigate the cornucopia of data out there. If it seems too good to be true, it probably isn't. As a society, we have to look to credible sources to get UFO information, and that usually boils down to the mainstream media and the government, though neither can be trusted entirely. Both have their own agendas, and both are often lockstep in line towards the status quo they want people to believe. The government issues, and the media distributes. When some historical event happens, the government usually issues a statement about it. The media picks up and distributes the information, often not checking its accuracy. Then the commentary begins. Several media talking heads comment on the statement, and their opinions often shape the reality we accept, whether it is true or not. If they laugh it off, many will accept this opinion. If they take it seriously, that too can change opinion and beliefs of the population. It's the same game that has been playing on TV and radio for decades. Our thoughts and opinions are often shaped by the media pundits that expound such beliefs. Those whose responsibility to dig deep and get to the truth often fail us because they don't follow true journalistic rules. They just repeated what they were told, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker. Then other medias, including social media, spread it like so much fertilizer on the ground. In the end, no one really knows the truth. They only know what they were told, and this shapes what we believe. It happens with the UAP issue, politics, and even society issues. However, more and more people are now demanding the truth. They see through the lies and confiscation. They are rising up to demand disclosure and the truth about UAPs and other topics. The media is slowly losing their grip on the minds of the people. Today, many people do not believe anything the media or governments report. They see conspiracies everywhere, in some cases where none exist at all. They assume if one story is wrong, they all are. This has caused a lot of strife in society and division where none needs to exist. We must learn to balance our opinions and fears and balance our relationships with each other. Just because you don't agree doesn't mean the other person is evil. It just means they see things a different way, and there is no wrong way. The UAP issue has generated a lot of debate as well. Healthy debate is good. As we try to grasp the reality of UAPs, many try to determine where they are from and if they have some agenda we need to be aware of. These are important questions, and we may never get answers from our current way of running governments and news media. Change is inevitable, so perhaps one day we will have more transparency when it comes to UFO and UAP information. So, what happens after we know the truth? There are many theories as to how people will react. The most common theory is there will be panic. Though this is popular in science fiction movies, it's highly unlikely. Of course, it would depend on how the message is delivered. If it comes as an impending attack, then there could be panic, but that scenario is unlikely as well. If aliens are planning an invasion, they have had plenty of time to do it. Most likely, the information will trickle out, testing the population as to how they will react to knowing we are not alone in the universe. In many ways, we are seeing this happen today as news of discoveries by astronomers and scientists reveal more details about the stars and planets near Earth. Most people have already accepted that the universe is teeming with life. It's just that nothing has been confirmed yet. When there is an announcement, you will likely see some high-ranking government official hold a press conference. This may be a president or vice president. On August 7, 1996, President Bill Clinton gave a speech about the potential discovery of life on Mars after the meteorite Allen Hills 84001 made headlines worldwide. The claims were controversial, and the scientific community eventually rejected the hypothesis after explaining the meteorite's unusual features without requiring life. However, the initial paper and the attention it received are considered turning points in the history of astrobiology. There was no panic in the streets either. It is very likely there will be enormous interest in seeing a craft or the aliens publicly, either dead or alive. People want that confirmation, and many want validation of their own sightings or encounters. Depending on how the news affects people in general, it may cause some concern that the aliens may retaliate in some way because we have their comrades and technology. For example, if it is revealed we shot down a UAP. Of course, some will try to use the news to start up fear, or even build a cult following from it. Some may try to play on the fears people have about it, or try to convince them this is some apocalyptic sign from God. When it does happen, it is important we keep a level head and calm understanding of the news. It simply means we are not alone. After the revelation, there will be many pundits expounding their opinions in articles, news commentary, and podcasts. You can bet social media will erupt in various opinions on what it means and what you should believe. The mainstream media will cover it as well, and they too may try to shape public opinion. Many will try to use it to stoke more division by suggesting some political agenda is afoot and pointing fingers at the other side. Though it will likely be benign, there will probably be some chaos as people come to terms with what it means to themselves. After a time and people have digested the news, we as humans will have to take another look at ourselves. We can no longer believe we are the center of the universe. We are just one species among a multitude of other species occupying the universe we live in. This will likely bring about profound changes in our way of thinking. One aspect that has been discussed about the after effects of disclosure is how we will no longer tolerate nationalist ideas. As we begin to think of ourselves as human rather than Americans, Russians, or European, we will become more understanding that we have that common bond. Some suggest it may bring us closer together and a oneness may occur, whereby peace with other nations will be possible. Some suggest racism may disappear as we come to understand we are all brothers and sisters. This, of course, will be a very good thing. However, it is also possible that it may be just another news day and we take it all with a grain of salt. Nothing profound at all will happen. Humans have very deeply held beliefs that are intrinsic to each group. Revelation of the UAP enigma may not shake the foundations of what we hold deeply to conviction. We may simply fold the information into our beliefs, and they become yet another conviction we have that does not disturb any other. We may try to affirm that this new revelation only serves to establish what we already believed, and it changes nothing. Things simply continue as they were with all of us at each other's throats yet again. The status quo is maintained. In any case, the UAP enigma and its corresponding revelation will raise many questions. We will want to know more about the aliens and their UAP craft, how it flies, what technology was discovered, and are the aliens peaceful or hostile? The answers to these questions may take time to ferret out. Having biologic material will tell us nothing about their attitudes or if they are malevolent. The technology will take time to understand, and if we already have teams working on this, then we may be further along than most would expect. In fact, the news revelation may be what we have discovered so far, and will confirm we do have crash retrieval teams and teams working on the technology. There may be blowback about keeping this all secret, and the government will be on the hot seat to explain why they didn't come forward sooner. This will likely make or break political careers. But ultimately, it comes down to public opinion? What do we think? And how will it affect us, either profoundly or not? The UAP UFO enigma is a complicated issue with many different and interlocking aspects, some of which may be far-reaching or something we have not yet considered. Because of this, it is difficult to predict the outcome of a full disclosure of this magnitude. Once the dust settles, we will emerge into a whole new world. How we shape that world is of paramount importance. There is a popular science fiction movie and book that is stamped with the moniker, "Don't Panic." That may be the future we need to prepare for. Just as the discovery of fire and later the invention of the wheel changed our lives profoundly, the knowledge of UAPs and aliens will surely do the same. As Nicholas Copernicus pondered if the earth was flat or round, we must ponder the effects of knowing we are not alone in the universe and how it will affect us. It could change everything. As you watch this documentary, we humans sit on the cusp of new and fantastic discoveries and revelations. From what we already know that there is an active UAP recovery task force in play and has been for some time now, to the new disclosure that we do indeed have alien bodies and biologics from several recoveries, including as far back as Roswell and the 1930s. These truths are already changing us. We are far more open to the idea that UAPs are real and a thing in the 21st century. Remember, just a few years ago, the very existence of UFOs was considered fantasy by many. Government denials kept that idea firmly entrenched in public opinion. Now, government acknowledgement is changing, and we are changing along with it. In the past decade alone, more new revelations have come out about UAPs, and many have followed the news waiting for more undeniable truth to emerge. Government and congressional hearings often drop tidbits of new information, but what everyone wants is complete validation of what we already know or suspect. We look to the government and the Pentagon to fess up and come forward with this news. However, there may be another way we learn more and precisely what the UAP enigma is. That is, from the aliens themselves. In the future, perhaps soon, the aliens who pilot the UAPs could openly contact us. This first contact will be earth-shattering and is obviously a major news event. If the aliens themselves made contact, the government and media could not deny it. Open contact could come in many ways, such as a landing in a major metropolitan area, a signal received around the world from space, or the discovery of UAPs in such numbers that they are seen and photographed by thousands. Direct contact could be a meeting by UN officials between the aliens and representatives of Earth. This would, of course, be carried live on all networks. Or it may consist of several open landings around the world whereby citizens will go out to meet the visitors. In any case, once this happens, there will be no going back. the truth will be revealed. That truth may mark a new beginning for mankind, whereby we trade or learn from the alien visitors. It could also spell our doom. If history is any indication, whenever an advanced civilization discovers a lesser civilization, the lesser is often conquered or absorbed into the advanced collective. They could become our rulers, and we may lose all of what we are. The most likely outcome of us meeting them will not be doom and gloom. If conquering us was their agenda, they would probably have done it already. They may simply be content to just observe us and make no contact at all. However, if they did attempt some global first contact scenario, and they have been observing us for decades, then they would know that such contact could be horrifying to many of us, and they would do it slowly so we can get accustomed to their presence on Earth. Perhaps this is indeed what is happening now, a slow process where their craft are seen more often, and we are being given some advanced technology to back engineer in secret. It's possible that those UAP crashes were intentional, to see if we can unravel their tech, to observe what we do with it, and then make a determination if we are worthy of open contact. No matter the whys and wheres, the truth that we are being visited is evident. The government knows it, corporations know it, and politicians know it as well. It's only a matter of time for the whole world to know, acknowledge, and discover the truth. Slowly and surely, we are unraveling the UAP enigma.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,